join me in the old Frog and Toad for a pipe chat. Should be fun. Hey guys, Mike here from Old Man Things, and welcome to the old Frog and Toad. Let me light my pipe. Smoking my tan shell. I think it's a Zulu. Is that what it's called? I like it. And I'm smoking some Frog and Toad blend. And I'm having a nice pint. A proper pint. Proper English pint. I'll tell you in a second. Let me light my pipe. Old Man Toad tamper. Now, you guys know my Frog and Toad sign is that, right? Well, today I got something in the mail. Let me show you. The Frog and Toad. It was an English pub out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I think I said it right. I can't remember if I said it. I mean, I don't know if that's how you say it or not. And I'm reading upside down. But I believe it was an English pub that is no longer there. But I got the shirt. Isn't that neat? Also got this. The Frog and Toad. And it's kind of neat because the Toad's got the American flag vest, and the Frog has the Union Jack vest. And it says a drinking establishment with a frog problem, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Isn't that neat? Quite pleased with that. But wait, there's more. And it's a proper pint. It's even got the stamp, the Royal Pint stamp of 20 ounces. So, and I've got Old Speckled Hen in here. So, cheers, everyone. Oh, is that good? Holy cow. As far as I know, it's been closed for a while. But I am quite pleased with that. All of it. And my official Frog and Toad shirt on in the Frog and Toad. I've got a pint jug and a pint glass now with frog and toad. So the ribs are still broke, but hopefully they're on the mend. Yesterday was terrible. But today is, touch wood, it seems all right. So I was telling my son about a story about my great granddad, and he thought it was really interesting, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. So, so on my mom's side, she's 100% English, and then on my dad's side, my dad's mom was a war bride from England. I think I've said that before. And my two grandmas were best friends during the war. But my dad's dad, his mom came over from Germany, and his dad came over from Poland. His name was John, the great granddad. He came over just before World War One, but at the time the American borders were closed for any immigration. So he came through Canada and then down into from Canada probably the UP and then into Wisconsin. He couldn't speak any English, but he joined the army to get his citizenship for World War One, and they asked how he said his name, and he said his name, and they spelt his name the way he said it. So my last name's a made up name, and no one really knew what the real name was for a long time. Well, during the 20s, during the Prohibition, John was part of the group that ran alcohol from Canada into America illegally. And one of the times they had the alcohol in the back of a truck, and they were getting chased by police. And it must have been like, I think the story was it was in a field or something. And he fell out of the truck and smashed his head on a rock. And he went kind of nuts after that. So he got very abusive. And my grandpa's mom divorced him. And back then, that was unheard of, you know. But my grandpa was a little kid. And there was three of them. It was my grandpa, my auntie Liz, and then my uncle Donald. And my grandpa was the oldest. And so when they got a divorce, his dad asked said that he wanted one of the kids to help. So the court made my grandpa go. And my grandpa said he was so mean. He was viciously mean, and he was an alcoholic. He couldn't speak much English. And all my grandpa had was this cat. This little cat. He loved that cat. And one time he didn't do something right. And the dad was, yelling and screaming at him. And I mean, again, my grandpa was just a little kid. So his dad picked up that cat and broke its neck in front of my grandpa. My grandpa ran away that night back to his mom, and he said, "If you make me go back," he said, "I'll kill him and then kill myself." So his mom never made him go back. You're probably thinking to yourself, "Well, what a wonderful story, Mike." Thank you. I know, isn't it terrible? But he spent most of his older life in the VA. And my dad said he used to go visit him once he got his license and could drive. But he said, he couldn't hardly, he didn't speak very good English and was always, couldn't get much out of him. So he died. I think he died in six. Well, my dad was in during Vietnam, so I think he died like 67, 68. Because my dad said he was overseas when the grandpa died. Anyhow, fast forward to the 90s, and one night it was around Christmas time. I was at my grandma's house, and the phone rang, and I answered the phone, and there was somebody. It was broken English saying, "Is this the house of um, Edwin and my last name?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Can we speak to him?" So, and I think my grandpa was in a different, maybe outside doing something. I don't know. So, but my grandma took the phone, and they said, "Is this the house of this same thing, the same name?" And she said, "Yes." Who's calling? And they said, "Can we ask you one more question? Was his father John?" And she said, "Yes." Who's calling? And she said, and I could hear too because the phone was right there and it was loud, and my grandma always had it up. Um, he said something in Polish, and like a crowd cheered. Anyways, his mom would have been my grandpa's first cousin. Her dad was the brother of John, and he said that the mom promised her dad before he died that she would find John's family. So he got my grandma's address, and he said that the mom wanted to write a letter and um, tell about the family. And then we found out the real spelling of the name, which was kind of interesting and fun. And So that was that. So around February, my grandma gets this letter, and I mean, it's thick. It's like page after page after page, and it's all handwritten, both sides, but it's in Polish. So and there was like family photos, and they're like copies of them. And I love history, and I love his family history, and I mean, I wanted so badly to figure out how I can translate that. Well, my grandma was friends with this war bride from Scotland and her husband, and they invited my grandma and grandpa over one night for dinner, and there was another person there, like another couple were there, and they went there, and the other couple, it was another war bride, and the guy was Polish, and he fought in the Polish army, and he when the Germans took over Poland, he was one that escaped and got, like, went down to, I don't know, he went down to France and then over to England and continued to fight um, against the Germans. And his attitude still was to that day. The only good German was a dead German. Was his attitude, right? Well, my grandma said to him, "I've got this letter. It's like 10 pages, front and back, all written in Polish. Can you translate it?" So he said yes. So when she got home, a couple of days later, I was there, and she told me about it. And I said, "Let's go make copies of the letter. Don't give them the real letter." And she said, "Oh, Mike, just I'm going to give them the letter." I said, "Graham, let's make copies." I said, "Because this is all we have. Even the address, that's all we had was this letter, right?" I said, "Please, let's make copies." And she said, "No, I'm going over there to take it over there now." So she took the whole letter, envelope with the address, pictures, over to this Polish guy. Well, months went by, and I'd always ask my grandma. I said, "Graham, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything?" And my grandma would say, "No, no, I haven't heard nothing." So one day I'm like, "Let's please, can we call?" I was anxious to hear. So she calls up this guy, And he answers the phone, and she says who she was. She said, "This is Esther." And the man starts screaming at her. He said, "Don't you ever call me. I don't want nothing to do with you." And my grandma said, "I just want the letter back." And he said, "It has been destroyed. You will never have that letter. It's destroyed." It slams the phone down. So my grandpa calls the guy, and he screams in Polish at my grandpa and threatens bodily harm if anyone has any more contact with him. And he slams the phone down like he was a nut. So there you go. The letter and everything was gone. We never got back in contact with him. The only thing we can think is she wrote somewhere in there, like, in order to survive when the Nazis took over Poland, we helped the Nazis, we worked with the Nazis, or something like that, which made him, furious because he left all that and continued to fight. I don't know. But the one thing we got out of it was the name, and it's a very common name. There's not much you can do. So with that, guys, I shall toast you in my Frog and Toad English pub pint. Cheers, everyone. Have a good weekend, and toodle pip.